Have you ever met that person who, no matter how heavy the situation gets, cracks a joke? Like, the group is having a serious conversation, someone opens up about something difficult, and out of nowhere comes that person with a joke that makes everyone laugh, but also leaves you thinking, dude, seriously now? I'm that person. And I bet you know someone like that, or maybe you are one yourself. And look, today I want to talk about what really goes on in the mind of someone who does this. Because it's not just about being funny. There's something much deeper going on behind these jokes, and I guarantee that when you understand that, it will completely change how you see these people, or how you see yourself. So stick with me because things are about to get intense. Let's start with the obvious. Why would someone make a joke at a serious time? It seems kind of insensitive, right? But here's the secret most people don't realize. Humor isn't always about making others laugh. Sometimes it's about emotional survival. It's literally a defense mechanism that the brain activates when the pain becomes too much to process directly. Think about it. When you were a child and you fell in the playground, what did the adults do? They laughed and said, "Oops, it's nothing." So you wouldn't cry, right? That's the beginning. We learn from an early age that humor can transform pain into something lighter, more manageable, and for some people this becomes the norm. Their minds, literally trained to. Whenever something painful comes up, look for the funny angle first. Now you might be thinking, okay, but everyone uses humor sometimes. And yes, that's true. But there's a huge difference between using humor occasionally and making jokes compulsively, without even realizing you're doing it to avoid feeling something. Let me tell you a personal story. I was about 17 when my grandfather died. He was like my best friend, you know? We'd watch movies every Friday. He'd teach me random things about cars, history, everything. When he passed away, I was devastated. But at the funeral, while my whole family was crying, I was there quietly making jokes with my cousin. Jokes about anything, just so I wouldn't feel that hole in my chest. And people looked at me like, that's disrespectful. But the truth is, I wasn't being disrespectful. I just didn't know how to process that pain without completely falling apart. And that's the point. People who joke all the time aren't insensitive. In reality, they feel too much. The problem is that they've never learned to sit with that emotion and let it exist. So the brain goes into automatic mode. Pain detected, activate humor, fast. It's like a reflex. Now, here's where it gets interesting. There's a psychological theory called humor defense, and it explains exactly this. Basically, when something threatens our emotional well-being, the brain looks for ways to neutralize that threat. And humor is one of the most effective ways because it does two things at the same time. It distracts you from the pain and creates social connection. When you make someone laugh, you receive validation, approval, and this releases dopamine. So you're literally medicating your emotional pain with laughter. But wait, because here comes the tricky part. This mechanism works in the short term. You avoid the pain, get a few laughs, and move on. But in the long term, you're accumulating unprocessed emotions. It's like sweeping dirt under the rug. Eventually the rug gets so full that you trip over it. And then comes chronic anxiety, the feeling of emptiness, that sadness you can't explain because you've spent years avoiding facing it head on. I see this happening all the time, especially with our generation. We grow up in a culture where vulnerability is weakness, where you have to be strong, productive, always doing well. So what do? We become comedians of our own pain. We post memes about anxiety, make jokes about depression, turn trauma into content. And look, I'm not saying that's wrong. Humor can be therapeutic when used consciously. But when it becomes automatic, when you don't even realize you're doing it anymore, then it's a problem. And there's another side to this story that nobody talks about. The people around someone who's always making jokes start to not take you seriously when you really need help. You know that story about the boy who cried wolf? It's kind of like that. You spend so much time making jokes that when you finally try to be vulnerable, people think it's just another joke. They don't understand that you're asking for help because you've trained them not to expect seriousness from you. So how does someone break that pattern? How do you stop using humor as a shield and start processing real emotions? First, you need to develop self-awareness. And I know that sounds obvious, but let me explain what I mean. The next time you make a joke in a serious situation, stop for a second and ask yourself, why did I just do that? Don't judge yourself, just observe. Were you uncomfortable? Afraid of being vulnerable? Trying to relieve tension? The more you observe this pattern, the easier it becomes to recognize it before it happens. Second, practice sitting with the discomfort. I know, it sounds awful. Nobody wants to feel pain. But here's the truth. Unprocessed emotions don't disappear. They stay there, waiting, growing. So the next time you feel that urge to make a joke to escape something, try to hold on for just a few more seconds. Take a deep breath. Feel the emotion in your body. Where is it? In your chest? In your throat? Just acknowledge that it exists. You don't need to resolve anything yet, just let it be there. And third, find at least one person with whom you can be truly vulnerable. Someone you know won't judge you, who won't force you to be the funny guy all the time. And practice being honest with that person. Start small. Hey, I'm feeling kind of down today. That's already huge. Because you're creating a space where you can be human, not just the clown. Now, I want to make one thing clear. There's nothing wrong with being funny. There's nothing wrong with using humor to deal with difficult things. The problem is when that's the only tool you have. It's when you don't even realize you're doing it anymore. It's when humor becomes a prison instead of a choice. And look, if you recognized yourself in this video, if you're that person who's always making jokes, I want you to know one thing. You're not broken. You've developed an incredible ability to find light in dark places. That's a superpower. But like all superpowers, it needs to be used consciously, not on autopilot. What if you know someone like that, someone who's always making jokes but you feel there's something more going on underneath? Try to create a safe space for that person. Say something like, "Hey, I know you like to joke around, but I want you to know that you can be serious with me too." Sometimes people just need permission to stop performing. So here's a summary of everything we've talked about. People who are constantly making jokes aren't insensitive, they're hypersensitive. Humor is their armor, the way they've learned to survive emotionally. But this armor comes at a cost. It prevents real connection, accumulates unprocessed emotions, and eventually leaves you feeling empty even when surrounded by people laughing. The solution isn't to stop being funny. It's to develop self-awareness, practice vulnerability, and create spaces where you can be human, not just the entertainer. So here's my challenge for you today. If you're that kind of person, try having an honest conversation with someone this week. No jokes, no distractions, just you being real. And tell me how it went afterwards. Seriously, leave a comment, I want to know. And if you know someone like that, send them this video. Not as criticism, but as a kind of, "Hey, I saw this and thought of you." Sometimes we just need to know we're not alone in this. We'll improve together, okay? Thanks for watching until the end. See you next time.